Hey, you want to split this Subway sandwich? It is my signature sandwich. It's called the Danger Witch, and it's dangerously good. Be careful though, it's spicy.
I don't know how I feel about my Niners being 4-18 against the most cringe quarterback in the National Football League. And
I think we have to explain this to people. So before we started recording, I made Juju for the first time watch the Russell Wilson Subway TikTok video for the first time. That sounds like Russell Wilson is torturing someone in his basement.
You ever done anything dangerous? That is dangerous. I've done something like that too. I won't tell anybody. Listen, one time, never mind. That's too dangerous.
Like he watched it and then just hit record on the broadcast. And
I just wanted to give them the most authentic reaction. Russell Wilson has topped himself every time that I see that he has a new video out. At this point, I even forgot about Mr. Unlimited. Unlimited. That seems like so second tier on the list of things that Russell Wilson has put out there. And he publishes these things. He gets to edit and view, and he's like, yeah, you know what? This is the take. This is the one that I put out. He has a chance to go into these ones and think about what he does. Yeah, Russell Wilson, the player. We came into this video wanting to talk about Russell Wilson, the player, and the current state of the Denver Broncos. So they did get a big win Sunday Night Football, beat my Niners 11-10. Horrible game score, horrible game. Advertising Subway sandwiches. Jimmy Garoppolo did it better. Too bad Russell Wilson played slightly better and won that game. So it is what it is. Russell Wilson, for years, no doubt about it, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But at this point, you have to start questioning, is he the same guy? Because he's not looking like the same guy to me, Kyle.
Oh, no, definitely not. He's definitely, well, I mean, in terms of being corporate Russell and the guy who, as it was described to me, is like was pretending, doing everything that people thought a quarterback was supposed to be. And now he's like too deep in the character that it's now taken over his personality. But this is the guy who's corporate Russell. He's the guy who all the Legion of Boom players and apparently Bruce Irvin and Doug Baldwin hate. This is the person who sells you Alaska Airlines and Bose headphones and Subway sandwiches and makes a lot of money off of it.
This
and that's
is the guy
corporate
that
Russell.
Hires security for his own private parties.
Yeah, this is what the NFL quarterback was in the 2000s. Like, this is what Drew Brees made millions and millions of dollars off of, is exactly what Russell Wilson
No. Drew Brees, never this cringe. And I'm talking about, too, at the level he's playing right now. Because through 3 games, okay, horrible game against Seattle, bad game against Houston, and the Niners defense shut him down. It's just a shame that the Niners offense shut the Niners down. That's part of the problem. You look through 3 games, and this just looks like the worst possible outcome for the Denver Broncos in making this trade. You're envisioning something better than, are they Brock Osweiler bad?
Okay, so this is an interesting conversation to have because there's a lot of different factors at play here. One is the fact that no matter how bad Russell Wilson plays, it will be better than what the Broncos have had the last 6 years, because the Broncos have had 12 different starting quarterbacks in the last 6 years, including a wide receiver, and that wide receiver also played better than Peyton Manning did during that Super Bowl season.
They didn't pay any of those guys $245 million straight up.
Yeah, and they were using that for their incredible defense, including Von Miller. And you can draw a direct line between them trading Von Miller to save $20 million a year and giving Russell Wilson $40 million a year. You can draw a direct line between that. And personally, I think the Broncos are going to be screwed no matter what, because they play in the same division as Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes for the next decade. And it's almost impossible to compete with that. And so there's another factor at play here, which was when Russell Wilson got traded from the Seahawks to the Broncos, he only had 2 years left on his contract. Now he has 7 years left on his contract. And there was no logical argument for him getting that contract other than the Denver Broncos gave up so much to get him. They were giving up Noah Fant and 2 first-round picks, which is basically 3 first-round picks for this. Our quarterback position is set for the next 7 years. That's what we were giving up, regardless of play. We know who our quarterback is going to be through thick and thin. It's the same reason why like the Toronto Blue Jays give George Springer $25 million a year. It's that for the next 7 years, our number one hitter and center fielder is locked in. That's what the Broncos did. And the Broncos have a brand new owner. So you have new owner syndrome also, where the owner spends way too much money to make a big deal and buy over support with the fan base, the same way that the Timberwolves traded for Rudy Gobert and gave up way too much for Rudy Gobert because they have a brand new ownership group that wants to commit to winning. So like all these different factors are at play when it comes to Russell Wilson. And of course, the fact that Nathaniel Hackett's out here looking like Freddie Kitchens light at this point.
Rightfully so. We're coming down hard on Nathaniel Hackett. We go back to the week 1 decision to kick the field goal rather than go on 4th and 5. But when you look at the numbers, it's not like Russ is really inspiring hope for anyone that thought that they should have went for it on 4th and 5. At this point, he currently has less than a 60% completion percentage. That's rookie Josh Allen bad. That's not Russell Wilson. So what is Russell Wilson at this point in his career? Is he still a top 10 quarterback in terms of ability? I don't know, because he's lost a step too. He's not the scrambling quarterback that he was. He just looks slow. Niners defenders, they were really on him quick. And normally I'm used to him just escaping the pocket and be able to get just outside, but he's not able to do that stuff anymore.
The reason Russell Wilson will make the NFL Hall of Fame is because of his ability to spin out of sacks and buy time running around. And when that step goes away, when you have injuries and the body just ages, what does that look like? Because remember, one of the biggest concerns for Russell Wilson for years is he takes a ton of sacks. And remember, sacks are a quarterback stat. In the modern NFL, pressures are a byproduct of offensive line. Sacks are a byproduct of the quarterback. Some of them are unavoidable, but everyone experiences those unblocked moments. So the concern with Russell Wilson is over years and years, he was buying time. But once you run out of time, you just got to throw the ball away, even if it's like Jared Goff 4th and 6 and just throwing the ball away. So all of those will be concerning as Russ gets older. And I'm sure people are concerned right now just because of how poorly the Broncos have started the season.
And when we look at Nathaniel Hackett, how much time does he really have here? If the Broncos miss the playoffs, is he going to be a one and done head coach?
I think he's already headed there. When I saw the headline that he had hired a coach from Baltimore to help him with in-game decisions, that was one of those moments where I'm like, good that you acknowledge that you have concerns with clock management. And also there's no way you should have been able to get that job if you have concerns with clock management in the way that you do. Therefore, even if it's a byproduct of Russell Wilson getting older, you can't fire Russell Wilson. You can fire the coach though.
And what's the pivot? If you move off Nathaniel Hackett, what's the right head coach for a Russell Wilson?
I don't know. I think I would want to go through an extensive hiring process and like interview candidates and actually like do the search process. I don't know if there's one that like sticks out like a sore thumb to me where I'm like, that person would be a great fit. I think I would want to sit down and like interview a bunch of people and perhaps let Russell Wilson have a say, or not necessarily make the decision, but at least have input on who the future coach would be.
You know, it's a bad look though, if Nathaniel Hackett is gone after 1 year. Is the argument has been made, does Russell Wilson ever elevate his offensive coordinators? You look at Shane Waldron, Brian Schottenheimer, Darrell Bevell, none of these guys became head coaches for coaching Russell Wilson. And typically when we see offenses that are running at a high level and running at a high level like they were when Russ was having his faux MVP year, right behind the excellent year that Lamar Jackson was having, typically we see those guys get looked at for head coaching roles. That didn't really happen with Russ. And it's never happened throughout his career. In fact, the offense coordinator has been the sacrificial lamb. And now Nathaniel Hackett is a offensive-minded head coach, is being treated like in the same light. And again, I'm not saying Nathaniel Hackett doesn't deserve it. There's plenty of instances you could point to and just say, okay, Nathaniel Hackett, this one's on you, this one's on you, this one's on you. But when you consider the quarterback has a track record of this, you have to bring in a guy that could handle that type of adversity. So that's why you're looking at like the veteran coach route. I don't think a new guy is really going to handle that unless you just get lucky get sevens across the board on the slot machine, and you land a Sean McVay, a young guy that just could handle that type of pressure, could come in and just instantly start winning games. But that's a 1 in a million. When the Rams hit on McVay, that was them getting extremely lucky and finding that guy. And Nathaniel Hackett, a lot of people would say, is he even in Denver if the Broncos weren't courting Aaron Rodgers? Was this the ideal pairing? Were they thinking Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson, those are going to be our two guys? That's probably another reason to think that Nathaniel Hackett might be gone after this year. The only reason he might have got in the building is they were hoping that they would add Aaron Rodgers, not Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and this is an interesting point because I would recommend anyone. Brady Henderson did an awesome piece for ESPN talking about the Russell Wilson fallout in Seattle. It kind of puts all the stories together. It's where we get confirmation that the Seahawks offered the Browns the number 1 pick for Russell Wilson. It's a really good story. And one of the big tensions we've known about for years is that Pete Carroll wanted to run the football and Russ wanted to let Russ cook. And that was a tension that just could never be overcame or avoided. And at the start of 2020, they let Russ cook and he was runaway MVP. And then he threw a bunch of interceptions and Pete Carroll basically like pulled the reins back and Russell Wilson stormed out of a meeting before the Arizona game where DK Metcalf famously chases down Budda Baker on the pick 6. Like Russell Wilson like stormed out of a meeting because he was so upset. And ultimately Brian Schottenheimer went from interviews for head coaching jobs to getting fired at the end of the season because of the tension between Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. And so that's kind of the tension that's always been there. And I don't know if Denver's letting Russ cook. I know Javonte Williams fantasy owners are pissed with how the Broncos have used the running game to start the season, but I just don't know whether this is a byproduct of the offense is so bad in Denver. I mean, it's obviously a small sample size, but I just don't know what the case is.
And we'll never really know the true answer until years later, but have Hackett and Russ been on the same page early on? Because one thing I know about that LaFleur offense, that West Coast offense that Hackett and all those guys run, is it is based around a strong running game, play action. And if they're not able to effectively run the football with a guy like you mentioned, Javonte Williams, then that may bring into questions too, if is the offense fighting against itself, which again may lead to a short tenure for Hackett. The next question always has to be just what's your next plan? What is your next head coaching hire? And I think Broncos fans have had the dream of like a Sean Payton, but is Sean Payton signing himself up for this?
Oh, no, God, no, he can do so much better. And what you bring up there is an interesting point, bringing it back to the Russell Wilson part, which is nobody's better in play action than Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is so incredible in play action bootlegs to the right. Like, that's the thing. I mean, there are a lot of things that make him Hall of Famer, but like that's one of the biggest things that makes him a Hall of Famer is Russell Wilson being one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in play action. So if the Broncos offense can't establish play action, or if they can and Russ can't make the same plays that he once did, then it's kind of a chicken or the egg situation.
All right, guys, what do you think of the Denver Broncos? What do you think their future is with Hackett, with Russ? Do you think this is a team that is just very early on trying to figure it out and they'll get right? They're starting off 2-1. You could be in worse positions. Let us know below your thoughts in the comments. Leave a like on the video, helps the channel. Subscribe to the channel, helps the channel even more. Stay safe, happy, and healthy, and we'll see you on the next one.
Anyways, my danger witch, it's only in the vault. That's our little secret.